Thank you all for joining us for the fourth episode of our program, CITN, Taxation You. Today, we're here to discuss the title of this episode, which is about the place of the Joint Tax Board in tax administration and tax practice harmony in Nigeria. The place of the Joint Tax Board, JTB, in tax administration and tax practice harmony in Nigeria. And we meet today to discuss, to do elaborate justice to this and to get your input, views, and position and commentaries is Mr. Innocent Ohagwa. Mr. Innocent Ohagwa is the Deputy Vice President, DVP of the Chartered Institute of Taxation of Nigeria. Mr. Ohagwa, you're welcome to our program.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you so much. Yeah, you're welcome. If you notice, we've gone through the President, the Vice President, and honor the months we go through you before we go to the public. CITN Taxation You is a program where we discuss taxation. The purpose is to develop the profession and also to develop tax in other ramifications from the point of view of all our viewers. And these viewers are not just tax professionals like ourselves. We have the lay taxpayers at the bottom. We have the lay, some are ignorant, zero knowledge, some are a little bit informed. Right, then we have the informed, then we have the tax professionals like ourselves, we have the tax administrators, we have the federal government agency and the like. So this program is for all of these categories of people. So for this purpose, we won't just be going to the technicalities, right? We'll start from the, from the basement and then build up. And that is the concept, that is the idea, that is the vision behind CITN. Taxation and you, the you includes everyone. So thank you once again for joining us on this program. So we want to talk about the place, the summary of this title is the Joint Tax Board, JTB. What is their place in tax administration and tax practice harmony in Nigeria? So a layman will ask you, Mr. Deputy Vice President, what is the Joint Tax Board? Who are they? What do they do?
Thank you very much for this question, and I welcome all the viewers and thank all of us for the opportunity given me to, act in this capacity. It's interesting. JTB Joint Tax Board is a key stakeholder, partner in tax administration in Nigeria. And before going into definitional terms, I need to go back a little bit historical.
Okay, that would be interesting.
Historical. This JTB Joint Tax Board first found itself into the tax law literature in 1961. And in 1961, through the Income Tax Management Act, that was the act that takes care of individuals and, both at the regions and, the Federal Capital Territory. This section made it possible for this body to be incorporated into the tax law. And via various amendments from 1961, to date, if you go to section 86 of the Personal Income Tax Act, the Joint Tax Board, the establishment, what it's supposed to do is clearly stated. But in a nutshell, Joint Tax Board is an umbrella organization that have the state and federal revenue services. In Nigeria today, we have the Federal Inland Revenue Service at the federal level. We have the State Internal Revenue Service and the FCT, Abuja, the Federal Capital Territory. Apart from these statutory members, considering the dynamism in tax administration, other institutions of government
Okay.
and parastatals
Yeah.
are also co-opted to participate in this body called Joint Tax Board. And some of those bodies are representative of Federal Ministry of Finance, Nigerian Customs Service, Revenue Mobilization and Fiscal Commission representative, Chartered Institute of Taxation, Road Safety, and a representative of Nigerian Governors Forum.
Okay.
Is also there to observe the proceedings. So, in a nutshell, it is an umbrella organizations that have all the revenue agencies, both at federal and the state levels, with other co-opted parties to ensure that the issue of tax administration is holistically and synergistically handled.
Wow, thank you so much. So, we can see the net. It's a broad one. The JTB covers. So, Mr. DBP, checking for that, what does the JTB do? Or you went historical, Itma, then we have the Peter, then the amendment, 2004, 2011, and all of that. Even the FRS establishment. So,
Exercise and perform duties following the statutory enactment by federal government imposing tax on companies' income or companies' profit, with also the permission of the minister, or as expressly stated in the Federal Inland Revenue Service Act. The third core function of Joint Tax Board is to use its best endeavors to ensure promotion or uniformity in tax administration and incidence on individuals. It has also a function to advise the federal government on double taxation agreements, double taxation arrangement with countries, and also the rates of capital allowances, and any other duties like amendment to Peter to provide an input into the amendment of Personal Income Tax Act. The fifth, and not the least, is to impose its decision on matters of procedure and regulation interpretation of the Personal Income Tax Act, on member states, the state's internal revenue on issues that may from time to time arise. Apart from these 5 core functions, JTB also carries out other mediatory harmonizing roles, which could be brought on the table by the individual states and federal that makes up the body. So any matter that is brought to the attention of the board by the members will be handled. So those are, in a nutshell, the role of Joint Tax Board.
Well, thank you, Mr. DVP. I was reading out those rules. I was writing them sequentially. The top point you mentioned, using his best behavior,
yes,
in the promotion of uniformity, on issue about, on various issues that cut across various state internal revenue services. So, Mr. DVP, I ask you, what's your opinion or what's your position on the residency question for a taxpayer who lives or operates from more than one state in Nigeria? There's this issue of principal place of residence, right, as contained in our Personal Income Tax Act, right? And for individual, I live here, but we have a case now where I live in Abuja, for example. I live in Enugu, for example. I have businesses functioning in Enugu, not something passive. I mean something major. I operate in FCT. I operate somewhere in Kaduna and all that. So it is possible that as a taxpayer, even for my tax consultant, right, or practitioner, they come across this issue of trying to validly, file my tax in such a way that I'm not going to have an issue. But the reality is that some of this, this multiple residents, multiple in quotes, right, may cause some difficulty or challenges for such a taxpayer to peacefully comply with the provisions of the law. So what's your take on the issue of this residency where someone actively resides, in more than one state of the Federation?
Okay, thank you very much. The concept of residence in the context of your question, we need to throw light on the categories of individual taxpayers you are making reference to.
Okay.
The question you need to ask first is that, is the individual earning an income?
Okay.
Or is he a retiree whose only income is pension? Or is the individual sources of income only on earned income? What I mean by on earned income, something like dividend. Those income that, that you don't have personal effort. It just coming, you sit where you are and it's coming. So we need to determine, or is it doing business?
Okay.
So we'll take it one after the other. Let's start with a resident whose source of income is only pension, or is not doing any other work, but he receives unearned income like dividend, interest, etc.
Okay.
Those categories of taxpayers, their residency is where they live.
Okay, where they live.
Where they live.
Irrespective of where the income is accruing within Nigeria.
No, it's where they live. Okay. If the source of income is only pension or unearned income, the jurisdiction of that particular taxpayer will be where he's living. The second category is where you are doing one trade, business, or whatever, vocation as a source of living. Your residence will be where that business is derived, that place where the location is. It could also happen that someone is working in a branch or in an oil platform or operational site of a construction company or any other type of installation.
Okay.
Such a person will be liable to tax where that business is located. And it must be noted that provided that the number of employees in that operating site are up to 50.
Okay.
So the relevant tax authority that will tax one who is, in more than one state, we used to define it as a principal place of residence. So the principal place of residence for a pensioner is where he's living.
Okay.
For unearned income person is where he's living. For someone who is working, is that place that is nearest to where the business is located. I think in a nutshell, this is how you handle it.
Okay. Do you have any idea as to, okay, I work in Lagos,
Yes.
right? But I live in Ogun State.
Yes.
So my weekends, right? My domestic affairs, the infrastructural comfort, security, and all of that are provided to me personally by the government of Ogun State. And I work in Lagos, right? Flowing from what you just said. How does such a person comply, right, with your tax obligation when it comes to I need the tax clearance certificate, and probably it is demanded by Ogun State government, and I'm brandishing one from Lagos State, and maybe somebody is raising an eyebrow, or maybe it is me as in Lagos State, and I'm brandishing out of Ogun State, how is such result? What place does JTB, because you mentioned the composition the other time, is there a table where matters like this, is there a table where matters like this are discussed by DVP, where this interstate, because we started with the code of residency, somebody having multiple residents across Nigeria. When it comes to tax clearance, what does the person do? What is valid? What is acceptable? To give clarity to the innocent taxpayer who is only economically working, to get by. What is your take on this?
Thank you very much. Apart from Lagos and Ogun State, we also have that in Abuja,
okay.
FCT and Nasarawa states.
Okay, I'm in Lagos, so okay, I get you.
Yes, one is that the provision of the law is where you are a resident. So if you are living in Ogun State and you are working in Lagos, your tax should go to Ogun State where you are living because it is based on residence. If you are working in Lagos and you are living in Ogun State, the same thing if you are working in Abuja and you live in Nasarawa State, your tax should go to Nasarawa State. That is the rule on residence. But where there are disagreements, the states will go to JTB.
Okay.
And JTB, in its normal way of handling issues, will deliberate and then take a decision. And they will be guided by also the provisions of the tax law, of personal income tax, and experiences from states, participating states, and they will resolve the matter. However, you find out that at times, even the states like Lagos and Ogun may not need to go to JTB. They may even resolve it among themselves.
Okay.
So the issue of JTB intervening will not come to play. But peradventure, the matter is taken to JTB. JTB will handle it in appropriate way by ensuring that the provisions of Peter, is complied with.
Thank you. Yeah, my DVP, from the perspective of the taxpayers and our tax practitioners, our members and the rest, administratively, how is physical administration? How is JTB structured? As in, where do you locate them? What institution of government in a state, or maybe in FCT? Where do you go? This complaint now, for example, I do not have a tax consultant. I should have, right? With the level where we are now, we advise everyone to have a tax consultant to guide them through everything they do. But I want to incident a complaint about something. How do I practically go? Where do I go to?
Yes, it's every state has state internal revenue service. And even within the JTB Act itself, within the Personal Income Tax Act, Section 92 provided for joint revenue committee, that is supposed to enforce decisions of the joint tax board.
Okay, for each state.
Yes, for each state.
Okay,
and the chairman of that joint committee is the executive chairman of the State Internal Revenue Service. It has also other members like the chairman of the local government revenue committee. It has director from local government bureau. Also have observers from RANFAC and road safety, amongst others. So when there's an issue, the tax consultant or the taxpayer can approach the State Internal Revenue Service in the state, and such matter will be resolved. If it is SCT, we will also approach the chairman of the SCT Internal Revenue Service, lay the complaint, and the matter will be resolved. Peradventure, they were unable to resolve. They can write the complaint and send to the Joint Tax Board, which is headquarters is in Abuja. And coincidentally, the executive chairman of FRS is also the chairman of the Joint Tax Board. And the matter will be taken up from that point, and it will be amicably resolved. Because each time the Joint Tax Board, tries to promote harmony, peace among the various, tiers and people, tax consultants who have issues, to resolve when they are unable to resolve it at the state level.
Well, you see, my DVP, you've offloaded a whole lot of knowledge and experience here. Look, I'm sure not too many of us know about, we read, people read books, people read newspapers, gazettes, newsletters, and the like. But the practical administrative process, now I have an issue, and I want to deal with it. Where do I go? You walk into a building, you're asking, is it the first floor? Is it the second floor? How do I write the letter? Who acknowledges which floor? How do I follow up? These are the practical field issues people go through when they need to get solution to the problem. So you've actually uploaded a whole lot, in that regard. Thank you so much. Because I was learning personally. I was, following through as you, gave out all of those details. I want to ask, this is kind of prescriptive in a way, right? We know you are not joint tax board, you are not speaking on our behalf, but we are looking at the way the taxation provision can be developed, and also the taxpayers, can be inspired to self-comply without anyone coming after them. So I want to ask, what role should JTB play in ensuring uniformity? You scratched part of the explanation, why, clarifying the point you just raised. So, but in a more specific form, what role do you think the JTB should play in ensuring uniformity in personal income tax administrative provisions of various states with respect to the multiple residency. What role should they play to pursue uniformity among various states and IRSs?
Okay. Thank you very much. Even before the coming of the National Tax Policy 2012, JTB means periodically and issue notices, communique, press release, and various information for people's awareness to bridge areas of clarifications in the tax law. When you are talking about multiple residency, more often than not, if the state is able to resolve the matter, there will be no issue outstanding, there will be no issue to be taken to JTB. Even after it has been resolved, on meetings of JTB, they focus on a lot.
Okay.
Compliance of the taxpayers, the stakeholders involved in the tax administration chain, taxpayer, tax consultant, tax practitioners, and to see how the job can go on ethically.
Okay.
By ensuring that taxpayers pay what they owe and that the process is simplified enough for them to comply. Even in the areas of rates of taxes, to ensure that there's harmony in them. And from time to time, if there are areas of disagreement, it's an opportunity for JTB to resolve. And there have not been issues that is taken to JTB that is not handled, to the satisfactions of the parties. So, for me to summarize, we are talking about disagreement at the state level relating to multiple residency. I repeat that multiple residency occurs more often than not between states that are adjacent to each other, and also some who claims to be doing businesses from various states that are not within the same place. But JTB in its initiative has brought the issue of central database and tax identification number. When that project is completed, now it may be very difficult for one to use excuses that, oh, I'm not in Lagos, I'm in Abuja, or I'm in Kaduna. So the tax identification number and the taxpayer database, when it is brought to speed, you will find out that these issues, will be resolved more easily than it is now.
Wow, great. Thank you so much, my Deputy Vice President. Thank you. I'm trusting you've asked me too many questions. Please bear with me. Okay, now we are going back to our audience. Oh yeah, sure, you can, please do. We are going back to our audience. You've been listening. We apologize for a little hitch along the way for those of you on Zoom platform. We want to take your questions, commentaries, observations, and also, recommendations on the way forward. We're talking about the place of the Joint Tax Board in tax administration and tax practice harmony in Nigeria. So when you're muted, try to squeeze in all you have to say within 1 minute, every single thing you have to say. So we go to those, and raise your palm. Use the icon, the palm icon on your Zoom platform to indicate that you have a comment to pass on. So my producers, what do we have? Do we have anyone? Okay, please use the icon when you do. So let's go to the message. We have some chats. we may need to respond to. Can we open up? Let's look at, okay, keep scrolling gently, keep scrolling. Yeah, keep scrolling. Those are recommendations. Thank you for your kind words. Thank you for all what has been said. Okay, lively. Yeah, keep scrolling. Let's see. Okay, lively. Those are. Can you scroll for us? Yes. Go ahead. The commendations. Okay, for now, yeah, those are commendations. Keep scrolling. Sorry, I'm looking at the screen, so don't mind where I'm positioned. I'm looking at the screen to take note. I think someone I've been informed that someone has. So, Secretary, can you please unmute the person? Let the person speak. Your name quickly. Then we go straight. Thank you.
Yeah. Good morning, Mauga Samuel. I salute you, Elijah here, Elijah Oceano. Are you with me?
Okay, please, you name yourself with a device. Can you just go ahead and speak? Unmute yourself and speak and introduce yourself.
Yeah, my name
please,
is Elijah.
Let's rename our device to our name so that we can easily identify.
Okay, my name is Elijah Oceano.
We are waiting. Go ahead and speak, please.
Yeah, I just joined. I'm not too sure where. I mean,
Ella, are you there?
Where is
you've been unmuted from our end. Can you go ahead and speak up?
Yes, I'm speaking. Can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me? Mr. Sam, can you hear me?
Mr. Elijah,
yes.
No, okay.
Can you hear me? Hello? Hello, can you hear me?
Good morning.
Okay, I think we're having some technical issue trying to get across to you. We will return.
Good morning.
Let me start. You see, well, everything you said, I tell you, for real, you asked the taxpayer out there, you know, we are not really aware. Let me assume if I was lay, I'm not aware about all of this. Okay, there's another showroom care, Timothy showroom care. Okay. Timothy showroom care. Okay, let's move on. So now, I'm asking some of these things have been said. You see, the taxpayer down there, you know, the taxpayers are not aware of this. So that takes me to the next question. Can the JTB champion? I'm not saying they do not expect this like you explained. You know, they need to be there to know. You need to have an issue to know. But I really do not need to have an issue to know, right? We need a total clarification and then publication of processes, right? And standards. So I ask, can JTB champion development of tax administrative standards or framework that can guide various tax payers and tax practitioners? It's not enough for me to be in the meeting, for me to write a letter to now know what they do, or that JTB or someone can say, you guys meet every quarter, every 3 months. Is there a way we can have an operational framework, a standard, something codified and made public, that every single, you know, the power of, you know, certainty, clarity when it comes to tax processes. So can the JTB do something in this regard, trying to come up with an operational framework that can, you know, get things going for us?
Thank you very much.
Okay, DDP, we'll come back to you. Mr. Elijah Siano, quickly, 45 seconds.
Good morning, my DVP, and good morning, Mr. Sam. I'm coming I'm coming from a pretty different angle to the conversation this morning. It is good for us as an institute to address some of the issues that goes on with the tax administrators. And one of the most important one now that is actually telling hard on the taxpayer is the way the tax promise computes the penalties and interest. It's a very difficult thing which I think we as an institute should take up with the FRS And whoever is in charge of the tax promise should address that area. Because how can you pay a penalty that is now so much for you to bear, and you cannot do anything about it because they use compounded interest. They use they compound the penalties, compound the interest, which is crazy. So I think we as an institute should look at it, talk to our lawyers, and see how we can wade into it, because it's telling hard on the taxpayer. Some of them are dropping their businesses and registering other businesses. Thank you very much, my DVP and my Oga at the top. I salute you.
Thank you, Elijah. Thank you. So your points are noted on the issue with tax maps. That will be addressed. The institute is noting. We go back to Mr. Timothy Shorunke. Mr. Timothy Shorunke, are you there? You may mute and speak.
Good morning, sirs, my DVP and the whole house.
Good morning.
It's an honor to connect. I'll be very brief. I stand on an existing protocol. JTB is a connecting point between the federal revenue and the state's internal revenues. And the federal revenue is standing for the federal government, while state internal revenue is working for the state. But they need harmony. They need to come together. But there are still a lot of things to be done. They are trying, but not yet Odorado. What do I mean? If you take a limited company to state internal revenue and the generating, the federal revenue will not take it from you. And at the same time, the Joint Task Board is now saying they are connecting both the federal and the states. They still need to work on that. Of course, what I see in practice is that there's a lot of money on the table that the state internal revenue is leaving on taking, because there are not to be a synergy between the financial statement submitted to the federal revenue and the information submitted to the state internal revenue of a client, so that they can put it together. You will discover that most clients will submit a different information to federal revenue and will submit a different information to state internal revenue. But if all these things are harnessed together, then the state government can generate more money from there. It should not be so. So the Joint Task Board is working, and those areas, they need to work more, and let us see the effectiveness of all this synergy between the federal government and the state government. Thank you for letting me come in. Thank you, sir. That's my position. Thank you, Mr. Timothy.
Your points are clear, very noted. Let's go to Dr. Kennedy Wundo. Dr. Kennedy Wundo, if you can hear us, you may unmute and speak. And I'm trying to see what you can do within 1 minute. Thank you, Dr. Iwundu.
Thank you very much for having me. There's an issue that needs to be resolved. Some state internal revenue service are still charging consumption tax to some of our clients. And in the past, we have discussed this in that consumption tax is still the same thing as value-added tax. So if the FIRS collects 7.5% value-added tax, the state internal revenue service in some of the states will come to the same client and collect consumption tax. There are so many court pronouncements on this matter, and we expected that the state internal revenue service, we should stop collecting consumption tax. I believe the JTB, we should use the JTB as a platform where FIRS will discuss with the other state internal revenue service to see the end of this consumption tax collection. That is exactly what I want to say, because some of us are in the field, we are practicing, and we are seeing so many infractions going on. And some of these things lead to what people complain as double taxation. So that is what I want to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Kennedy Wundo. Your points are noted. Let's quickly hop over to the other person, CITN. Your name was not stated. Please unmute, introduce yourself, and make your input. There's a Zoom user. Okay, yes, go ahead. Go ahead. You unmute yourself. You just unmuted again. Yes, you may speak up, please. We can't hear you. Is it your audio or something? Okay, let's go ahead to the next person. There's someone, please, you may need to introduce yourself because your device name is showing. You may speak. Introduce yourself and speak.
Good morning, my DVP.
Good morning, sir.
My name is AB Ahmed from Kano.
Okay,
well
from Kano.
Well done, sir.
I want to appreciate your very good contribution to this all-important discussion. My concern is with itinerant workers. Those who don't stay in one place, they move from this place to that place. And because of the way we keep data, how do you establish the number of days that they have spent in different locations using the JTB? Because the states are losing a lot of resources and creating a lot of confusion here and there. I don't know what JTB is doing to be able to address this challenge, particularly considering the informal sector tax administration that we've not been actually been able to handle very well. Thank you very much for this contribution. We're actually being educated by a lot of information you are giving us. May God bless you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, my deputy vice president, you may want to respond quickly.
Okay.
So it's particular because
this one.
there is a specific issue that we're having.
Okay. Thank you, sir, for that comment. You see, one thing about itinerant workers. These are aspects of personal income tax act that at times is very, very difficult, to implement. And when laws are made, some of them are of relative ease, some of them are in the books pending when the opportunity comes. But determining who is an itinerant worker and try to determine the number of days, before you can take something to JTB, you must also have the capacity to track such movement and the number of days. So for me to go straight, it's
you know, like a town hall meeting. Do you not think it's going to actually, you know, break those gaps of misinformation, disinformation, collaborative inefficiency, and other frustrations that that hang around the value chain, service value chain?
Yes. Thank you very much. You see, JTB is not a revenue agency. JTB is just an umbrella of revenue agencies. So the meeting does not need to take the pattern of a revenue agency. What usually in practice is that at the state levels, they carry out sensitization, periodic engagement with their stakeholders. At federal level, they do so. Even CITN also carry out various sensitization and engagement with various groups where tax administrators, tax practitioners, and taxpayers are invited. So it is not the duty of JTB to start organizing, you know, this type of engagement at the various states and federal level and the professional institutes. They can do that because JTB is a body that tries to resolve issues, you know, and retain its constitutional assignments, except it is brought by any of the party states who are members of that organization. So to answer your question, it will not be proper for JTB to engage in that because at the state level, they are extensively done. At federal level, they are extensively done. At professional institute level, they are also extensively done. So all these stakeholders, you know, play their own role in one way or the other, and then JTB to do their own. So in this respect, it will not be proper for JTB to, but periodically, JTB used to invite a tax consultant or a practitioner to come and talk to them on an issue of common interest. Okay. You know, in this case, they don't need to invite all the consultants or the taxpayers because each of the states there is represented, and in the state, the taxpayers have unfettered access, the tax consultants have unfettered access to the revenue authority. That's why it's advisable that every taxpayer, you know, try to have an agent. Where you don't have an agent, you can also, you yourself, you know, can approach the tax authority directly, and then the issues will be sorted out.
Okay, thank you, my DVP. Let's squeeze in a commentary from Mr. Kunle Olatunbosun. Please, 1 minute strictly. Mr. Kunle Olatunbosun, 1 minute strictly, please, for input. Thank you. Mr. Olatunbosun, okay. If you are there.
Yes. Hello, sir. Can you hear me now?
Absolutely, yes. Absolutely.
Okay, that's fine. Please, it's just like a question regarding this QC, that's a qualifying capital expenditure. You of recent, you know, there's a directive from FRS that companies will provide approval of a federal ministry for qualifying capital expenditure for the past 6 years. But you know what is worrisome there is that these are the accounts that have been audited by FRS. Test review has been carried out, and most of the documents have been archived. I was wondering why is it that the FRS decided to start now and dig back to so much years. I'm not saying that approval should not have been reviewed, but I think it should have been something to be done going forward. That is my concern on that. I think it's the JTB to break into that. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Kunle Olatunbosun, yeah, we get your point, the point you've made, and probably maybe in line with the direction of what we have for this program, whether the JTB may need to come in. These are part of the issue. When the tax professional feels something is not right or something should be, interjected, these are some of the issues that can be brought to the notice following the process you've mentioned. That very process trying to bring something to a notice. It's not just by doing oral complaints. So, Mr. Latomasun, you may need to also follow the modality discussed by the BDP. But the BDP has something to add to that.
You see, the issue of capital allowance, that letter written by FRS, did it violate any tax law? And if there are issues, did you raise a protest letter to the FRS? Because there are things that should be handled by the individual revenue agencies. It is only when you can't come to a close that you can escalate. But if you have not given FRS the first option to even respond to why that memo was issued, I know that the director technical or the coordinating director of the tax operations group could provide answers to the reason why that letter was written. But at least I know that it is in compliance with the law that in the past or for some time, it was not being enforced, may not be accepted as adequate reason. However, when you meet with the FRS directly, they will be able to give you further reasons and then explain. And if there's need for variation, they will also do so. So it's not such matter that will be taken to JTB when opportunity have not been given to FRS to defend the letter it has written. Thank you very much.
Thank you, my DDP. Thank you so much. We will not be able to take further input because of our time. We are, rounding off what we're doing here. But there's an important announcement. This is to announce to you the 2022 annual dinner and awards. 2022 annual dinner and awards of the Chartered Institute of Taxation of Nigeria, holding on Friday, November 25, 2022, at the Lagoon Restaurant, Ozumbambadi Way Avenue, Victoria Island, Lagos. The fee for single for an individual is 15,000 naira, for couple 25,000 naira. Once again, 2022 annual dinner awards of the CITN holding on Friday, November 25, 2022 at the Lagoon Restaurant, 1C Ozumbambadi Avenue, Victoria Island, Lagos. Single 15,000 naira, couple 25,000 naira. Please do well to join us in this award. My DVP, as a parting words, in terms of assessing the performance of JTB in Nigeria, what we have for the JTB on tax administration, tax practitioners, and the taxpayers generally, as we sign off.
Yes, thank you very much. In my view, JTB, Joint Tax Board, have done very well, and there is still opportunity to do more, especially at the sub-national levels. There's a need for all the stakeholders' hands to be on deck, because the issue of tax administration in Nigeria is not only JTB that have the overall responsibility, because the stakeholders will check the national tax policy. We have a group of stakeholders like government. There will be political will on the government to support harmonization of taxes, domestic mobilization at all levels, both the states and the federal. There is also need at the subnational level to encourage full financial autonomy and administrative autonomy. Some states are already having that, but there are many other ones that are yet to. The issue of professionalization and capacity building of the officers of the revenue service, especially at sub-national level. The issue of automation should also be embraced, especially at the sub-national level, because I am aware that at the federal level, a lot has been done and a lot of improvement have been recorded. In subnational places like Lagos and others are also doing well, but many other states are yet to come to terms, to bridge the huge compliance gap between the taxpayers and the current performance. The ratio of low GDP to tax ratio, we need to work on that seriously through harmonization of the taxes and ensuring that all taxable persons, organizations, perform their duty accordingly. Again, judicious use of taxpayers' resource, which the media advocacy group will need to communicate to the general public on what taxes are used, at both subnational and national levels. All this will encourage greater compliance. And then we also need to improve the training and retraining of officers of the service, especially at the state levels, and their welfare needs to be taken care of so as to encourage them to perform more. Because at the state level, a lot needs to be done to bridge the gap of non-compliance by a large informal sector. With these few words, I congratulate the organizers of this program, the participants, and the JTB as an institution that has, since 1961, have remained very relevant, even when there were non-existence of national tax policy. They were breaching that gap, and today they are still doing very, very well. So I think.
Thank you so much for that elaborate project. Thank you so much. I want to thank you warmly for coming for this episode 4. And we hope we invite you some other time. You'll be gracious again to join us. Then to our viewers, I want to thank you for staying with us for the past 1 hour. We've been discussing the place of the Joint Tax Board in tax administration and tax practice harmony in Nigeria. Thank you for joining us. The next episode comes up on December 1, Thursday, December 1, 2022. We look out for joining us. Thank you for your time. Good day, and let's have a blessed working day. Bye-bye.
Thank you.